Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, brothers and sisters of Brookfield. I was here before. I spoke with you. And sad to say, the message that I have for you tonight is basically the same, because we have not seen very much changes take place since last I was here. What I will tell you is that when I became President General of the Old Trinidad in 2012, I said to my executive that I do not care what would have happened in the past. I do not care what went on before 2012. But I had to ensure that the Old Trinidad General Workers Trade Union did not go down in the history of this country as having betrayed the ex-colony workers and having betrayed the people whose blood and sweat and tears would have built Renzi Complex and built that union. And so I decided to do an investigation. And when I did that investigation, I realized that if what was happening to the ex-colony workers was not the greatest symbol of inefficiency on the part of any administration, then it was a deliberate conspiracy by those in authority to ensure that the ex-colony workers did not get the lands that were promised to them. And I told my executive, and I have told the people who have come to me and said, what have the Old Trinidad done since 2003? Why did the Old Trinidad remain silent between the years 2003 to 2010? And I tell them, I said I became the leader of the Old Trinidad in 2012. And as far as I'm concerned, if we open a quarrel between the past and the present, you will find that we will lose the future. And so what we had to do was to forget about what happened in the past and we begin the struggle to ensure that every single ex-colony worker was given what was due to them. And as the young man said, not as a gift or a handout, but as a legal entitlement by law, the D.L. Singh judgment of 2007. And tonight is a good night, and I'll tell you why. Because tonight is a night of crossroads. It is a night when we have to reassess and redefine our relationship with those whom we have placed in power and those whom we have trusted to take care of us. Tonight is a night when we must ask ourselves what has gone wrong. For 2 long, hard, and daunting years, we have marched, we have demonstrated, we have begged, and we have pleaded. We marched in the rain and we marched in the sun. We sat in interministerial meetings with Munilal and Inder Singh and Jairam Simangal and Devant Maharaj and Ganga Singh. And we told them, after 11 long years, after 7 years of the PNM, the time had come to take care of your people. You were in power with 29 seats. You could do anything you want. And the time had come to stand up and not be afraid to do what you had to do for those who would have supported you for generations. And we started that in 2010. When we had the Old Trinidad Farmers Association Council, and in 2012, when we joined forces with the Sugar Boilers Association, the battle became intense. To date, ladies and gentlemen, to date, all you have had are mere promises, are mere pittance. You have had bones thrown at you, and you have had nothing substantial. And tonight, we are calling on the government to give to the thousands of ex-colony workers that are still waiting what is due to them. I want you to know that there are 5,800 ex-colony workers still waiting for residential lots. And I want you to know that there are people who are collecting leases for their agricultural plots and don't even know where the lands are located and can't even access the lands. And that is a fact. I want you to know that a promise has been made that at the end of this month they are going to give out 2,000 agricultural leases. Unfortunately, getting a lease in your hand, as the young man said, without proper infrastructural development, as mandated by the Singh judgment, means that they are giving you a worthless piece of paper because you cannot do anything with it. And then they are going to come to you and tell you, we are offering you $140,000 for your agricultural plot. And many of you will take it because many of you need the money. But I will tell you this tonight, when you take that check and you go to the bank with it and you deposit it, know that you are being cheated by the very government you placed in power. Because many of these lands are now falling into the hands of contractors and businessmen. An interlocking directorate of those in authority and businessmen who in a few years' time will turn those lands into commercial lands. And the same lands you are paid $140,000 for will be worth millions. And you will be losing out. But that is the plot. And that is what is happening. It is so very easy for them to give you 3,000 leases and call you in a Renzi complex or in the regional corporation and line you up like dogs in a field as though they are giving you a gift and a handout, with the Prime Minister taking snapshots with you, as though they are giving you charity, and when you get the lease in your hand, you can't do anything with it. You have to sell it. Because the accompanying infrastructural development did not accompany that piece of paper. That, ladies and gentlemen, is a travesty. And that should never be done to the ex-colony workers of this country. We told them every single ex-colony worker who cannot plant their lands after 11 years must be paid $250,000. Why? One, because the state would have breached the constitution of this country and denied you your constitutional right to enjoyment of property for over 11 years. Two, subsequent governments would have breached the Diyal Singh judgment. And thirdly, you have been denied the right to earn a living off of the lands that was supposed to be your severance package, which was supposed to enable you to have a smooth transition from the sugar industry to other forms of livelihood. And having been denied those rights, we were saying $250,000 was just a reasonable compensation. We never got a word back from the ministers when we told them that. Never. Residential, I told you, 5,800 people still waiting for their residential lands. 5,800 ex-colony workers after 4.5 years of the People's Partnership government are still waiting for the lands that are due to them. That is a sin, it's a travesty. Because the PNM is not in power. Our party that we voted for, that we pounded the pavement for, that we walked for, that we gave our blood and our sweat and our tears for, our party is in power, and our party is unable to give us what is due to them, to give you what is due to you. And we ask the government to give back to every single ex-colony worker who paid for those lands the monies that they paid, because it is illogical in law for a man to pay for his own severance package. It is illogical in law. And I have heard through the grapevine that the government is attempting to pay back the colony workers who paid for their lands. But in so doing, they are throwing you a bone around election time. Because the 5,800 of you who are still waiting for your residential lots may very well have to wait another 5 and 10 years before you get it. And that is the catch in the whole thing. Because in a meeting held in Caroni Limited, the chairman of Caroni Limited said, in fact I will use the words it is alleged, he said, that if they want the lands free, then they could wait as long as we want before we give it to them. And he said that. And that is the same time the government took a decision to write to 2,500 ex-Caroni workers, and this is about 4 weeks ago, 2nd of December, and they were going to write to 2,500 ex-Caroni workers and tell them that they had to take back the lands from them from 9 sites: Cedar Hill, Picton, Exchange, Bocaro, Orange Field, Connector Road, and those lands were going to be given to the land for the landless, and you will have to be relocated. Relocated. In addition to 1,200 of you who have already been dislocated and still to be relocated, and in addition to 1,500 of you who have not yet drawn an initial plot of land for the visa package. 1,500 of you have not yet drawn for your residential and TOEIC plots. And when I broke that news in a media conference, most of you may have heard it, I was attacked for 10 days straight by Vasan Bharat, Devan Maharaj, Rujanath Inder Singh, and Jairam Simangal. I was attacked by these ministers for telling them to take care of their people and ensure that their people get the lands that are supposed to be given to them. 10 days I was attacked. But it was a good thing, because the letters have been withdrawn, and they are waiting for the correct time when they could do it and dislocate you. But I promise you, as long as we are here, that will not happen. And so while ex-Caroni workers are waiting, HDC houses are being built and given out. All over the country you have squatter regularization taking place. You have land for the landless taking place. You have the Prime Minister announcing 500 jobs to be created in each of the plannings in Port of Spain. You have the Prime Minister announcing 2,000 jobs to be created in the energy sector. And ex-Caroni workers are still waiting. For the ex-Caroni worker, the only thing they can give to you is European CPEP. URP and CPEP. And when you get a CPEP job, they threaten you with your jobs if you don't go to every political meeting, function, or walkabout that they have. That if you don't go, you will lose your jobs. That is what they are doing to you. They are attempting to do to you what the People's National Movement would have done to its own supporters along the East-West corridor. They are attempting to turn thousands of ex-Caroni workers into a permanent underclass. So when they tell you come back home around election time, you have no choice but to go back home or you lose your job. That is what they are doing to you. And that nonsense must stop, because you have never yet depended on anybody for handouts or gifts or for political patronage. Every single thing that you have is what you have worked for generations. And you must never forget that. And when I walked through Couva North and I went to Orange Field and I even went to Albert Field, even the fishing industry, I was told, is in crisis. I've heard in Orange Valley they want to stop the trawling for 4 months. I've heard in Brookfield that since last year, with the last seismic surveys, fishermen have not been compensated for the losses they endured. And what do they want to give to you to make up for the thousands of dollars you may have earned by the fishing industry? They are telling you you could get CPEP and URP jobs, or you could get a piece of Caroni land. 5,800 ex-Caroni workers still to get their lands, in addition to 1,200 who have been dislocated, in addition to 1,500 who are still to be given lands, or to make an initial draw, but they're telling the fishermen, we'll give you land too. Who do they take you for? Is it that you are so stupid? They think you are so stupid that you can't read between the lines and see what is happening?
Tell them, Nirvan, tell them.
All we are saying, and when I meet with the fishermen from Orange Valley on Thursday, is it? We are going to tell them, once you are united, the old Trinidad will also take up your struggle to ensure that you get just and fair compensation from the government from the losses that you have suffered. And when I walk through Brookfield, I realize one thing. The constituents of the Sugar Belt, including Hoover North, are fed up. And they are frustrated because your issues are being taken and swept under the carpet. Substantive issues are being swept under the carpet. Ministers are coming on the television stations and lying blatantly, pretending that all is well with the ex-colony workers, that you will get this and that, and your issues are being swept under the carpet. And I want you to ask yourself something. The fishermen and the ex-colony workers who are here today, ask yourself something. Your government has spent $314 billion in 4.5 years. $314 billion in 4.5 years. You have had light sport. You have had Color Me Orange. You have had public relations gimmicks. You have had millions for legal fees. You have had soca artists being paid $10 million to produce a CD. You had $294 million for Carnival last year. You had, I think it was about 300 allotted for Carnival this year, millions of dollars. And in a time of dropping oil prices, the Minister of Finance is saying that they have to find an additional $150 million to pump into Carnival this year. But for 11 years, ex-colony workers are still waiting to get the lands that are due to them. So where are the millions that were supposed to be allocated to take care of your lands? Where are the millions that were supposed to be allocated to prepare infrastructure for you? Why do you have to wait 12 years and more to get your residential lots, while every single group in this society is benefiting and getting not what is due to them, getting handouts? Because the footballers, the government did not have any legal liability to pay the footballers, and they took care of them. The government did not have any legal liability to give $55 million to any churches, and they took care of them. The government has a legal responsibility by a court order to make colony workers a priority, and you are still waiting. And that is a travesty. That, ladies and gentlemen, is a travesty of colossal proportions. No other group of people in this country have been so unfairly done by as the ex-colony workers of this country, and that is a fact. And you must stand up and recognize that. You must recognize it, because if you don't, your generations to come will face the same things that you are going through. Yesterday when we walked in Brookfield, we went to places where people were totally fed up and frustrated. There were places where the roads had humps in it, where you couldn't drive along the road. There were places which were unpaved. There was a lack of drainage, proper irrigation. There was a squatting settlement I went into, where when you looked at it, you saw people who were living in a situation that is unbearable. And the government has the audacity and the impunity to continue to tell you that all is well. So I want to ask you tonight, how many times have your member of parliament stood up in parliament or in public and have had the guts and the courage and the determination for the vote that you gave to her to stand up and articulate the issues that you face in Hoover North? How many times? How many times have Rujonat in nursing, the former President General of this union, stand up in parliament or in public and say to the country, the time has come to take care of the ex-colony workers now? How many times have any minister of government or member of parliament stood up or stand up and say, the time has come to take care of the ex-colony workers? I will tell you how much. None. Not one of them. And every single one of them depend on the sugar base, the former sugar base, to be in power. And when 2015 comes, in fact it is here, and they go into the election, they will be telling themselves they have 15 seats in the sugar belt. Come what may. No matter what they do to you, you will vote for them. And that is why you are in the position that you are in today. Ladies and gentlemen, ask yourselves several questions. Why do they think they have a divine right to your support? Why do they think they could put on a sari and a kurta and go in a temple and you will support them? While your issues are not dealt with. The time has come for you to tell these people that enough is enough. The time has come to take care of you now. You see, and I keep saying it in every meeting, and as a young man said, Ronald, he said, they forget that our women and our mothers and our sisters will get up at 4 o'clock and 3 o'clock in the morning and go and cut cane. And when they finish cutting cane, they will go in the kitchen garden in the back. And whatever they produce, they will put it out on a table in front and sell it, and for every penny they earned, they will save a cent so that they can educate the children and build a house. They forget that. And they forget, I keep saying, they forget the days when people cook in chula and sleep on pal. They forget the days when our women were dragging 45-pound chains in the cane field. They forget those days. They forget the days when you lived in houses, thatch roof houses that leaked. They forget those days. They forget the days when you toiled and you toiled and you took credit for 6 months of the year in order to survive, and when you work for the next 6 months, you paid off your bill with that, with what you earn. They keep forgetting these things, ladies and gentlemen. And the time has come for you to make them remember. And for the older heads in this audience tonight, I keep saying it, they forget what you faced in 1961, the discrimination you faced. And they forget that this country almost came to the brink of war in 66. You faced that. And they forget, the older heads, they forget that in 1975, in the March for Bread, Peace and Justice, Bloody Tuesday, ex-colony workers were in the forefront of the march, and they are the ones who were brutalized by the police, who faced tear gas and bullets and baton. They forget those things. And the time has come for you to ask them, why? Why? Millions are being given away, but why are the ex-colony workers still waiting? You who are the only group of people in this country to ever give 1 day of free labor in this country. No other group of people in this country has ever done that. You have done it. And you are still waiting 11 years to get what is due to you. 12 years now. And every single group of people in this country are being taken care of. And people ask me in several meetings, I tell them, and I will tell you here tonight too. People ask me, why are you attacking the UNC? Why are you talking about the UNC like that? And I tell them, I say, first of all, I have never yet attacked the UNC on any issue except the issue of the ex-colony workers and taking care of your own people and the people who voted you into office. And the second thing I tell them, I have a right to deal with the UNC because I am one of those who from my teenage years fought for the UNC and pounded the pavement for the UNC. And in the early years, in my teenage years, I lived in the East-West corridor. So while people like you were campaigning in Cuba North and Cuba South and Safe Seat, I was campaigning in Maloney and La Porquita and the Congo and Sherwood Park. We are the ones who took Pande into the East-West corridor. We are the ones who, when Pande went up for the first time in Lavantil, you had men, 4 men with machine gun in the second jeep following him to make sure he was safe. We are the ones who took the UNC into the East-West corridor and thereby took them into government. So I have a right to talk about the UNC if I wish. Perhaps more than you. I have a right to talk about them because I too bled for them. And today, all I am asking them is to take care of their people. The time, ladies and gentlemen, has come when you have to stand up and tell yourselves that you are no longer willing to be treated with disdain and contempt by those who you have supported. The time has come for you to demand your rightful place as first-class citizens of this country. The time has come for ex-colony workers to band together and unite together as brothers and sisters and send a message to the government and tell them enough is enough. You have to take care of your people now. That is what you have to do. And that is what we are attempting to do, because if you don't, your generations will never get what is due to you. They will never get those lands that are due to you. They will never get those lands which are the legacy of the sweat of your ancestors. Those lands are a representation of the spirits of thousands of ex-colony workers who would have died working in the cane fields. And for 11 years you are waiting to get that. That is a travesty and it is a sin. And I want you to understand that ex-colony workers must know that they have political power. Political power resides in your hands. You have to understand that, because if the UNC win 15 seats in the upcoming election, the 15 seats they win will be in the sugar belt and with your vote. And if that is the case, then you have to tell the UNC, enough is enough and take care of us now. Give us what is due to us. You see, you could understand when you are treated badly by the PNM, because the PNM is the enemy, or the perceived enemy. And so when they treat you badly, they think that is their duty and their responsibility to do so. But when you are treated badly by your own, whom you would have placed in power to take care of you, then that is a sin. It is a sin of ingratitude. And worse than that, it is ingratitude by your own. Those who walk these streets, those who grew up with you, those who walked side by side with you, and now that they are in power, you see them only with their black Prados with tinted glass and standing up on the back of pickups and waving to you. That is what you see. And they tell you you have to come to every meeting, and when the meeting is over, while you struggling to reach home to take care of your family, they are in their black Prados driving home safely, while you are on the streets trying to find your way home. That is what they have done to you. And they think that when they pave roads and build box drains that they are doing you a favor. You must know, and I will tell you tonight, that they are being paid $33,000 a month plus allowances to do that for you. You are paying taxes. That is their duty and that is their responsibility. And you have some of them who can't string two sentences together or write a proper essay. But when they pave a road, whether it's done good or bad, you have to run with a mala and a lota and a tawaya to say hi with them, because they think there are some gods that they have done you a favor. Brothers and sisters, that nonsense have to stop. And when we say take care of our people, they vex and they want to destroy us. My brothers and sisters, I want to give you an example of what I'm talking about. Friday, December the 19th, the government's propaganda paper, The Voice, had a statement. It said, union boss does not speak for ex-colony workers. And it said, the only ex-colony workers who are suffering are the 1,200 ex-colony workers who applied for their lands late. All the others have been dealt with. And that came from the government's paper, The Voice. Ladies and gentlemen, they have now reached a stage where they are now lying on ex-colony workers. Because when they say only 1,200 and those 1,200 did not apply on time, the 5,800 ex-colony workers who are still waiting for their lands, they